I have a, a surprise, a stupendous, amazing, wonderful guest who is riveting, bold, brave, stunning, handsome, spectacular in so many ways. I could just really go on and on. I want to introduce you to my special guest for this evening, my own husband, the amazing, the wonderful Nicholas Stotzer.
That's quite the introduction. I don't really know if I could live up to it, but I'll take it.
I think that you're amazing, and so it's a worthy introduction for sure.
Oh, I love you, honey.
I love you too.
I'm gonna get all mushy on here.
Oh, you gonna get mushy. Uh,
Thank you.
well, you
You look
know,
really pretty today, by the way.
well,
I didn't
thank
get a
you.
chance to tell you today with all the stuff that was going on, so you look really pretty today.
There was kind of a lot going on today.
Oh, so much happening.
But I'm glad that we're here together now. I'm
Amen.
glad that we are rocking, and I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today. Actually, this is going to be one that I'm going to like post. I'm going to let you know on social media because I know that you're about to drop knowledge on these folks up in here. Okay, you're about to drop knowledge.
Sure.
So I'm very excited. And I want to say to everybody who's watching, this man is going to be bold because he can't do it any other way. I have benefited from this beautiful situation for the entirety of our marriage, which is that you, babe, would open up the windows of manhood to me.
Ah,
As a woman, I have been a student of men, that is, boys, probably, right? Because
yes, mostly.
mostly boys, but I was a student of, I wanted to understand how men worked, how men thought, men's perspective on relationships, men's perspective on women, what they're looking for when they're looking for a wife. There's a lot of things that women sometimes think if we just talk to ourselves among ourselves, we're going to figure out men, when in reality we need to open up the door, right, and talk to men if we want to know about what men think. So one of the things I love about you is you know how to break it down, you know how to spit it blue, spit it pink, help us to understand some things about men. So tonight, I really want to just pick your brain. I want you to like open the doors of the inner sanctum and let.
I can't give away too many secrets. We
I
us
mean,
men need to have at
maybe
least a couple things. You
just
know,
like just a couple, just like a few things, just a few things. Just open the like crack the door of the inner sanctum a little bit, and
sure.
um, and tell the people, what are some common misconceptions or what are some things that women need to understand about men, especially single women, women who are looking to get married. And also, um, I'll start with this one. Here's my question.
Mm.
What is one thing that men wish women understood about men?
That were way more simple than you think. I
Hmm.
think that women generally overcomplicate men. They think men are complicated. We're not. We're actually the actual opposite. We're completely simple. It's that we're women think in such complex ways that the simplicity of men confound them. It's just like, for example, why does a grown man feel happy with a beer, a hot dog, and a game? Like, why does that stimulate a grown man? It's just because it's simple. It's something that we don't have to like think our way through. It's just one of those. It's one of those things that I think I wish most women understood. Women overcomplicate men. We're not that difficult to understand. We're super simple. We're simple. We're simple creatures. I
So
would
what are
borderline us on dumb, but I don't want to. I don't want to put that on all guys.
okay, so what are some of the ways that women overcomplicate men in trying to understand men?
Oh, like okay. Here's one. Uh, Part of me doesn't want to let this cat out the bag just because I think it's been said so many
Oh,
times.
now I want it. You don't want to let it out.
No, but
That's
I
maybe
think
we
it's been
want
said so many times, and I feel like it's been oversaid. But for some reason, women don't believe it. I don't know why. It's been proven 1,000 times. There's no such. I don't want to say that there's no such thing. There's very rarely a time when men are platonically in relationships with women. especially with single women. Ever notice that the homie starts talking to you less once you get married or in a relationship? Like, there's a reason because he's waiting to slide through. It's just that simple. Men are not really interested in relationships with women that they're not attracted to.
Wow.
In general, in general, not always, because there's no such thing as always, but the vast majority of the time, he is not your friend because he just likes your brain.
Dang. So what you're saying is if there's a single woman
Hmm.
who is, watching this right now or who's catching the replay
Hmm.
and she has a male friend who's platonic,
Hmm.
you're saying he's not really platonic.
No, he's waiting for his
Like
chance.
he's definitely waiting for his chance.
Okay, I'm not sitting here and saying all men are going to be emotionally aware enough to be saying, "Oh no, that's just a friend. Everything's all good, no problems at all." Uh, I would never think of her that way, homie. Please, we all know you're lying. So, I think that I think that there's there's that moment when things get awkward that you kind of know that there's something there, and that's the thing. If women, if they wanted to, they could test it. They could be like, "Hey, look, I think I've been thinking about you for a minute. I'd love to just try this thing out. See how many of your homeboys actually want to say yes."
Mm. Okay. So, would you say that there's any situation in which men and women can just be platonically friends?
There are absolutely, you know, as a pastor, as a Christian, I have women that are I would consider friends, but all of them, the vast majority, revolve around the gospel. Meaning, I'm not talking to them outside of the things of the kingdom. I'm not talking with them outside of my own relational family dynamic. Meaning, my wife is in the room, talk with my wife, that kind of thing. I'm not sitting there having deep personal conversations. That's called intimacy. That's reserved for my wife. That's not reserved for the homie, right? That's a female. That's inappropriate. And so, you know, I think it's a very interesting dynamic when women and men, you know, I'll just talk with men. When men listen to women for long periods of time, I don't know why women think it's just because they want to listen to them. That's not generally something that men do. They don't even do it with themselves among men.
Listen, somebody
So
somewhere is tripping out like, "No, no, my best friend is
no,
definitely
you
definitely."
have no idea how many times I've had this conversation. Like, no, no, but my best friend's a guy and he's fine with it. Ask him. Listen. It's not that men don't find women attractive and are friendly. Of course they are, and they're friends in that capacity. It's that there's an understanding that yeah, they think you're attractive. It's not just based on the simple fact that you exist and they like the fact that you exist and they're good with you on a singular level. They
Right.
they wholeheartedly see you on a multiple level variations. They're okay with being friendly with you and being your friend. It could be like, for example, here's an example of how a man could be platonic with a woman. Um, for example, if he sees his, if you look like his mom or his sister, more than likely that is, especially because men are so visual. If you have like a visual attractiveness that's similar to a family member, more than likely that's going to be platonic for a guy, and they could stick to that platonic relationship. But if you don't really have a visual resemblance to a family member, friend, or cousin, or family member or cousin, distant cousin, some way, he's probably attracted to you.
Wow. Alright, alright, so you dropped that bomb. You dropped that bomb. That was a good one.
I'm sorry, your male friend thinks you're cute.
Alright, so what if this, male friend is not somebody that we ever wanna be with romantically? Can we just keep him in the friend zone? Should we
You
keep
can
him
keep him in the friend zone
distant?
all you want to. And that's the thing. I don't think, gosh, you're putting me in real bad spots here.
I mean, we can switch gears. I
No,
totally
no, it's
agree,
okay. I
boys
mean, I
out.
don't mind. I'm just gonna be in trouble with women and men now. It's okay. I mean, look, the truth of the matter is, men don't care that they're in the friend zone. They actually hate that they're in the friend zone. There's whole books dedicated on how to get out of the friend zone. There's a reason why men don't like being friend zoned. Because if there was a problem with a friend zone, you're friends. So what's the
Exactly.
issue? So if you're in the friend zone, there's a problem.
So, in the vast majority of cases, your heterosexual male friend is
Yes.
on some level interested in you
Yes.
and is either biding time to when they can holler at you,
Yes.
or they're not
Hmm.
sure they want to holler at you. So they got you there sort of as like a spare in case they don't find something better with the people they're dating.
Sometimes on that last one, I wouldn't say that's the majority of the time. If a guy is keeping you as a friend, it's not because you're a spare, unless y'all have been together. That's another conversation. Unless y'all have been together and you're still friends, then you might be a spare. But if you are never been together, then he's made a mental check. This one could be good for me.
So I'm putting you on record. If you've been with a dude
Yes.
and now you're friends
Mm-hmm.
platonically,
Mm-hmm.
then you are a spare.
For most men, not all men. Let me
No,
just
this
say
is
that.
a most of the time. Let me
Yeah.
put this disclaimer out there, ladies and gentlemen, before I get my husband or myself in any trouble.
Thank you.
We are
Thank you.
talking in mosts. We are talking in maybe 75% of cases. That doesn't mean 80, maybe sometimes 90. But that doesn't mean it's 100 on any one of these counts. You could be the exception. The issue
So,
is you're most likely not the exception.
can I just take this to Bible real fast? Can I just
Yeah,
take this to Bible real fast?
always,
Because
always.
people think I'm crazy, and then I have to point them to the scripture that says that you should look at women as your sisters unless they're your wife. So it doesn't say look at the female as your friend. There's a reason.
Hmm.
There is a reason for that. It's God in His omnipotence, in His
Mighty wisdom, great
mighty
wisdom.
wisdom, is trying to tell men, look, don't be friends with these females. They're your sisters. Take care of them as your sisters, which is a very different context. It's a
Yeah,
very different context of relationship. It's in no way romantic in any way. Your heart disposition's different. How I view my
right.
sister, my conversations with my sister are very different than with my friends. All of these things are now listen. I say this in deep love and respect to all my brothers that are trying to holler at that woman in their life that is godly, that they just feel is a little bit above their pay grade. And you
Mm,
just waiting for your moment because that's really what most friends that are men are. Because the ones that aren't friend zoned are the ones that she wants, right? So
mm.
those guys are not interested in being their friend. They're interested in dating. It's the guys that feel like the woman is above their pay grade is the ones that are generally friend zoned. So respect to those guys. The lack of confidence is the whole reason why they're friend zoned in the first place. But
Yeah.
issue another time.
This is another thing. All right. So let's switch gears because we only have like 15 minutes left. Maybe one day I'll extend the time frame of the Future Wives Club to get deeper
Please.
into topics. But I'll give us one more juicy secret from the realm of men. Give us one more thing that either men wish women understood, or that as a pastor who loves women, who has spiritual daughters and spiritual
Yeah.
sisters, that you want your spiritual daughters and sisters to know and be aware of about me.
Oh man, there's so much. Um, the one thing that keeps coming to my mind right now, to the forefront of my mind, is the nothing box. I think this is important for those in long-term relationships that aren't necessarily married yet,
Yes.
and for women that are interested in being in long-term committed relationships, i.e., marriage. If you want your marriage to last a long time, leave him in his nothing box. You know what? Uh,
What is the nothing box?
Pastor
Leave him in
Kim,
his nothing box.
A nothing box is a place that men go where we literally think about nothing. We can be watching we can be watching the TV, looking at a game, watching a movie, and literally be thinking about nothing. We could be in the garden gardening. We could be at the car fixing the car. We are thinking about nothing. And the complex conversation comes, what are you thinking about? And when the man says nothing, women don't believe it. And the
Wait
truth
a
is,
second. Wait a sec. Wait. Time out. Wait. Are you saying to us, our revealer of man mysteries, that men actually think about it? Like when you say, "What are you thinking about, babe? What are you thinking about? Why are you so quiet?" And he says nothing.
yeah,
That
he's
is in
not
fact a
he's
reality.
not trying to hide another relationship from you. He's not thinking about other women. He's not thinking about the argument you had last night or 5 weeks ago. He's literally thinking about nothing. He's
The
literally thinking nothing. The nothing box. Oh, the other thing, generally, when a guy says he's moved on. So when I mentioned the argument thing, there's so if you've been thinking about something that was said 5 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, a week, 5 days, 2 days ago, he more than likely doesn't understand what you're talking about unless you explain it to him. So he's
Mhm.
moved on. Literally, that space has been vacated. There's other information that needs to go there. He's not paying attention. So if you want to talk about a situation that took place a while back, you actually need to verbalize it. He's not going to be thinking about
Right. Whereas women, we're still processing it. Like
it.
until
Right,
it's duly closed for us, finished, we still have it in the back of our mind. It's
right,
influencing how we see how you dress today, how we
right.
hear the conversation you're spitting. We're still
100.
processing this through the argument from 3 weeks ago that we didn't feel got a satisfactory ending.
Yes,
But the
ma'am.
man has totally moved on. You saying
Completely.
that's why he thinks we're like that's why men sometimes think women are emotional or they're
Sometimes it's where the confusion comes in, where he doesn't know what you're talking about, and you want to know why. How do you not know? We just had this conversation. He's like, what conversation did we just had? He's thinking of like the last hour when they got home. What did he say? What conversation did we have in the last 24 hours? I don't know what you're talking about. He's not thinking a week ago. He's not thinking a month ago. He's not thinking that. That's not how men think.
That's not how men think. So
No.
when the conversation gets settled, even if it's not a perfect settle, dude's moving on. It's over for him.
Oh, it's settled for him because you stopped talking about it. So it being
Mm.
unresolved is fine unless it really involves like you're gonna leave him. Then he'll be like, hey, let's get back to this tomorrow. I don't wanna I don't wanna, give this conversation up. But 9 times out of 10, the moment you're like, I don't want to talk anymore about it, he's not talking about it.
Aha. Aha.
You
That's
said you didn't want to talk about it, so we're not talking about
right. You said you didn't you said it's fine, but it wasn't fine.
it.
So that's
Right.
that's
Now,
that's
see, here's the thing. We know it's not fine. We're waiting for the browbeating, so to speak, but we don't know when it's coming. So we're not going to sit there and wait for it. We're going to just move on.
so when we bring back the conversation from last month or last week or
Mhm.
yesterday, that we want to get back to, we need to break it down. We need to get into detail, like
The best thing,
specifically.
the best thing you can do for your relationship is be specific. If you want to know, if you want to have a specific conversation about a specific thing, let them know and give them the space to process. Just that simple.
So what are some of the differences? I know we only got time for a few secrets, right? But I'm gonna pull at this one more, at least one more. What are some of the differences between the way men deal with conflict in a relationship and the way that women deal with conflict in a
That's a
relationship?
complicated question. That's a really complicated question. I mean, you talk about personality differences, but if you want to talk about generalities, um, man, that's really difficult. Man, you really threw a doozy on me. Not because I don't have answers. It's just it's so, different men are going to have like, for example, a guy who has father issues is not going to know how to deal with his lady without. How do I say this better? a guy dealing with an orphan spirit, right? This
Mm,
issue of performance, like he has to perform in order to feel like he's worthy, is going
yeah.
to have a very difficult time having a normal conversation about subject matters around performance. So, and I'm not talking about sexual, I'm just talking about life performance. Like, for example, she wants a house. He can't
Mm,
provide a house because he knows he's making $45,000 a year. He doesn't really have the prospect of being able to advance in his job. So he already is going to feel a deep wound if you bring it up, not because your intention is bad, but there's a deep subject going on in him. See, men feel very deeply. So when you touch something that is
mm.
a, even though the men don't say much, they feel deep, if that makes sense, in general. So that's where the explosions come from with guys. It's because you touched on something that's a real deep issue for them. So
Okay.
not, and by the way, can I just also say not everybody has those issues. It's just very common, especially among people of color. So, which is sad. I don't know why it is. It just is. We all, a lot of studies have shown fatherlessness and how it affects you know um, us as men. There's just some male basics that need to be taught by
Right.
fathers to sons that aren't necessarily given. So, I would say the how men are different. Like if you see him starting to um, get deeply emotional, just back off for a minute. Um, Also, a lot of men need space to develop a thought. Sometimes you hit them with something, they don't have words for it right then because they know their lady, and if they say the wrong thing, there's going to be a fight, and he doesn't want to sleep on the couch. So, he's going to probably say, "I need a minute to think about it," and that doesn't mean a literal minute. It doesn't mean the end of the night when he's trying to go to bed. It literally means give me a day or two
Ah, that's important. So give me a minute means give me about 8 hours,
at
maybe
least.
24.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the vast majority of arguments are going to be happening in the evening, right? Because morning, and I'm talking about, listen,
Mm,
this is the assumption that there's no cohabitation here because you guys aren't married yet. This is future wives club. You ain't wives yet. So, if,
touche.
huh?
I said touche, touche.
Touche. So, if you're in a dating relationship that's been long term, if you guys talk in the morning at all, it's usually, hey, how you doing? What's your day like? You're really not having, if it's a good relationship, you're not having arguments in the morning. You work throughout the day. You're going to talk mostly in the evening. So most of your arguments are going to be in the evening. Guys are trying to get to bed. We're just really, like I said, we're simple creatures. Food, sleep. The hour in between food and sleep, generally, or two, is consumed with nothingness, hence the nothing box. But if you're going to go ahead, and that's how we decompress, just so you guys know. So if you're going to go ahead and invade the nothing box time, and it turns into an argument, you're not going to get an answer right away. And if it's something that's like a real deep argument, you're going to need to give the brother probably about a day or two, because that's not really a day or two. That's really 2 hours, right? So
Right.
it's really for guys. They're not thinking about it during the day. They're not thinking about it in the morning. They're thinking about it in the nighttime when they're home and their workday is done. This is what they're doing. They're
Yeah.
thinking about that. So
The
that's really
issue.
more right. It's
So
really
and
more like, go ahead.
I was gonna say the nothing box is I think is back is because it's important to understand this is a space, a safe space to process or to come to get some distance from highly emotional issues. And
Yes,
so when we're like forcing an emotionally charged conversation, we're just making most men want to go deeper into the nothing box of shutdown.
one
Like,
hundred percent.
yeah,
Yeah,
which is
the
something
more
that
the
women
more
don't
she
have.
gets
Women
hyped,
don't
the
have a
more
nothing box.
yeah, the more she gets hyped, the more we want to shut down. So in general, and it's not because we don't want to answer questions or be involved in a conversation, but things are getting really tense, and we don't want to deal with the tenseness. Like, can we just talk about it? And then once we get to that level of conversation, then we generally open up again. But we're
That's
mostly we're mostly not wanting to get into fights. It's really what it is.
should avoid that. Women need to understand that nothing must, because women don't have one. We don't ever stop
No.
thinking. Like we can like try to focus our thinking or calm our thinking.
Yeah.
But women really don't like stop thinking, like go into spaces where we like separate and do nothing. So I think
Yeah.
it's like I didn't even believe there was a nothing box. I sat there with women who've been married for 20 years with the mouth open, like, what? He really is thinking about nothing?
Yeah. He wasn't lying.
That's a thing. That's why you watch the movie with all the explosions, so you can sit there and
Yeah.
think about. Oh, that's
Men
fantastic.
make men watch dumb stuff because they don't have to think, and they find it for some on some weird level interesting or fun.
So
You know.
here's my last question, because we only have a few minutes left.
Sure.
Um, because we have to realize that we are all people who are in process. We're all on the journey of development. Hopefully, if we're aware enough and submitted to God enough to be developing and growing every day. So, what about a woman who realizes she's in a relationship with a broken man? With a man whose flaws are showing. Maybe he does have an orphan spirit. He's not confident in his identity as God's son. He doesn't feel that sense of confidence yet in his abilities and his potential and who he is. How can she respond to this? How can she support him? And are there any red flags that maybe he's too broken to pursue a marriage with right now?
Well, first of all, the answer is yes. There are red flags. I don't have time to get into it in the time that we have, but yes, there are red flags. And the answer to your question is how long is. Like, give me an example of how long this fictitious woman has been with this man.
Um,
'Cause that makes all the difference.
let's say 5 months. Just threw some out there.
5 months, it's salvageable. Okay, so at 5 months, you really kind of get to knowing somebody. You realize this particular individual is dealing with some significant issues around confidence in certain areas. It's still salvageable, but he has to go get the help on his own. You can't help him. The only way you can support him is not by buying books or anything like that, but is having an honest conversation about the relationship. So if he
Mm,
really wants the relationship to move forward, he's gonna listen to you and he's gonna move forward with it. So let's say, look, I really like you, I want this to work, but this is not for me something I want to be married to X Y Z. So if I need you to either deal with that or let me know that you can't deal with it. That should either move the guy forward or it's not going to move him forward. There's no reason to be with them.
So women
Now, if
have it
you
all twisted. We shouldn't try to mother him or coddle him. We need to be direct and say, "I
men
see
don't want to
this."
marry their hold on, marry. Let me also get this straight. Men don't want to marry their mother. Okay, they don't need you to mother them. They
Mm,
need you to be. They need you to be their wife. It's a very different thing. Wife and mother are very different. Don't mother the man. That's why
mm,
your relationships aren't working. You're trying to mother him. Don't be his mother. Be his support. Support and mothering are very different things because support tells the truth, and sometimes that truth hurts.
mm,
Mothering is all about, I'm not all about, I'm not a mom, but what I've seen in good moms is a lot of mothers when their babies are in trouble, the first thing they do, oh, let me hug you. Are you okay? Oh, what can I do to help you? Let's go get that big bad man. You're
mm.
no, 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 no. That's not. Don't do that. Don't do that. He's gonna have to work some things out on his own. You can hug him, love him. You can, kiss him. All that stuff. All that stuff is helpful, but don't be a mother. He doesn't need a mother. He needs a wife. So
Amen.
the best thing you can do, let's say he's going through some stress, isn't to be his mama and try to hold his head and no, it's to maybe help him with the. This is for husbands and wives. Help him with the kids. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you do that little extra effort around the house to make so that some of the stuff that he has to do normally he doesn't have to do right now.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. And you know what else makes sense?
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to have you back. You're gonna have to be my
Oh,
favorite repeat guest because it's
okay,
already.
okay. Hold on. Before you go, one more thing because the question was a good one. Uh, I'd say the cutoff point is a year. If you've been with this man a year and he ain't made no moves to try to change, kick him to the curb. I'd say a year's. Why waste any more of your time? You wasted a year of your life on a guy. Why are you waiting 5, 10, 15 years on somebody? Because you love him? There's plenty of other dudes out there. Like there's tons. There's literally twice as. There's literally what is it? What's the statistic? Statistic. Anyways, the whole point is the availability of men for you is there. in
Right.
abundance.
Okay. So we're saying brokenness is something we all share. But
Yeah,
if you can see that and somebody's willing to work on it, if they're willing to get that outside help
keep them,
outside of you,
keep
keep
them,
them.
keep them.
If a year in they're not willing to address that stuff, move on. Rock, roll, be out.
Also, one more thing: if he hasn't asked you the "Will you marry me?" question in between year 1 and 3, what are you guys even doing together? I'm
Mm,
100 serious. It's
yeah.
there's so you know how many men want to ask their potential wife, "Will you marry me?" in the first 3 months? What is it about y'all that it took 2 to 3 years to ask the question, not even get married? So, I, what more do you
Well,
need to know?
and on that note, no, I'm serious, my husband. I'm gonna have to have you back because we have a vibe, and I feel like, I need an hour whenever I go with you. But
Oh,
next
okay,
time, I'm gonna come on with some more hot questions. Maybe this time
okay.
I'll give you some time to think about it in advance. For all of you who are with us, Future Wives Club every Monday, 5:30 p.m. on Facebook, on YouTube, Firehouse Community Church, Future Wives Club on Facebook, or Kimberly Stotzer on YouTube. Uh, I appreciate your presence. I can't wait to get into some more of this very important conversation because the body of Christ needs to talk about the details of relationships. I'm actually about the gospel first. But if we don't get
100.
into how to build some healthy relationships, then the structure of the family that God instituted is disintegrating, falling apart, coming apart. Why? Because without a vision, people perish. So we need a vision for what's healthy, and that is what we're doing here every Monday night at 5:30 p.m. Thank you so very much, my
That's
wonderful husband,
beautiful. I think I love
for
you more every day.
joining me.
I think you're so gorgeous. Can I just tell you, your hair is always amazing, and I don't know how you do it.
Yo, come give me a kiss then. You know what I'm saying? We have
That's
to
not a
go there.
problem.